In this video, we are going to understand the value of a determinant which has an order of 3. So first we will look at what is meant by an order 3 determinant and how do you calculate the value of order 3 determinant. So like we discussed for an order 2 determinant, an order 3 determinant is the one which has 3 rows and 3 columns. The concept remains the same. We had A1, A2 in case of order 2 determinant. We have A1, A2 and A3 for an order 3 determinant. There are 3 rows, 1, 2 and 3. And then there are 3 columns, 1, 2 and 3. Right? The question is, how do you calculate the value of an order determinant 3? And you know, it might just come as a surprise to you that this is equally simple. Okay? So the first thing that we need to do is our starting point is always row 1. So the way I look at it is, first we assign a plus sign to the first element, a negative sign to the second one, and plus to the third one. So in means is we are assigning alternate signs of positive and negative to the 3 of these elements. And what then I do is I just simply pick up A1 plus A1. Okay, I put in minus B1, which is the second element, and then I take plus C1 as the third element. Right? When you had only 2 elements, it was simple. You just used to do a cross multiplication like this, and that was the end of the matter. In case of 3 order determinant, you first need to pick up the first 3 elements of the first 3 rows. And once you've done this, you just need to kind of play a game of ignorance. And what does that game mean? The game of ignorance simply means that whenever and whichever element we are considering out of these 3, okay, which is these 3 elements, we just take the determinant as it is and we remove the row and the column in which this element falls. Now if I talk about A1, A1 falls in which row? It falls in the first row. Right? So I will just erase this first row out of this thing. And A1 also happens in first column. So I will ignore the first column as it is. Right? Now once I do that, what am I left with? I'm just left with this particular piece, which is this. So what I do is I just put in this piece in front of A1. B2, B3, C2, C3. Right? What this means is now I need to multiply the value of A1 with the value of this order 2 determinant. If I have to apply the same logic to B1, what will I do? Let me show that to you. Now when I talk about B1, I need to see which is the row in which B1 falls. B1 falls in the first row, so I just knock this off. And B1 also falls in the middle row column. So I will ignore the middle column. And what am I left with? I'm left with A2, A3 and C2, C3. Right? Which is this and this. I simply take these values and go back to B2, A2, A3, right? C2, C3. Similarly, when I come to C1, again, the same thing has to be applied again. I will see which row does C1 falls in. I'll just remove that. Okay? Probably black might be a better color, and I remove the column in which C1 falls. Again, what am I left with? I'm left with these 4 numbers, and that is what I take back to my previous slide. So I get A2, A3, B2, B3. 3, right? Let us say that the value of the determinant is delta, okay? Then what my value of delta will be is equal to going to be A1 times, again, this is an order 2 determinant, so I'll just do what I did earlier with this, B2 into C3 minus C2 into B3 minus B1 times A2 C3 minus C2 A3 plus C1 into A2 B3, these two multiplied by each other, minus B2 A3, that way. And effectively the value of the determinant will be this. If I want to go a step further, I can do these multiplications, A1 B2 C3 minus A1 C2 B3 minus B1 A C3. This is actually A2, okay, plus minus minus becomes plus B1 C2 A3 plus C1 A2 B3 minus C1 B2 A3, right? And this is the value of a determinant of order 3. Well, in some of these I've taken A, C and B in that order. If you want to simplify it, we can write all of them in A, B, C format, which kind of may be a better bet and an easy exercise to do. So simply speaking, you can write this as A1 B2 C3 minus A1 B3 C2 minus A2 B1 C3 plus A3 C2 B1. Let me just kind of take this over here, plus A2 B3 C1 minus A3 B2 C1. In other words, this is basically the one which I've just highlighted is the answer or the value of the order determinant 3.